theater was quiet long before the lights dimmed. It was the kind of quiet that felt wide and open, like a deep breath held by thousands of people at the same time. Rows of red seats curved gently toward the stage. The air smelled faintly of warm metal, fresh paint, and anticipation. Above the stage, soft white lights rested like patient stars, waiting for their moment to shine. Backstage, a group of performers stood close together. They did not speak much. They did not need to. Their hands rested on each other's shoulders, their fingers lightly touching glowing wires sewn into dark clothing. Tiny points of light blinked softly along their arms and legs, like sleeping fireflies. This was Lightwire, a Filipino LED dance crew, standing on the edge of a dream they had carried for many years. For most of them, this moment had begun far from this grand theater. It began in narrow streets where jeepneys passed slowly, in small community halls where the floor creaked under bare feet, and in homes where electricity sometimes flickered off without warning. They practiced in silence when neighbors slept. They practiced under streetlights when there was no room indoors. Light, to them, had always been precious. That was why they learned to dance with it. On the other side of the stage, the judges settled into their seats. Simon Cowell leaned back slightly, arms resting on the table, his face calm but watchful. He had seen thousands of acts. He had felt excitement and disappointment more times than he could count. Still, there was something about the quiet before a performance that always pulled his attention forward. Terry Crews stood nearby, smiling gently as he looked toward the stage. Howie Mandel tapped the desk softly with his fingers. Sofia Vergara adjusted her posture, eyes curious. When the host announced Lightwire, applause rose politely, then softened. The curtain lifted slowly. The stage was completely dark. For a long moment, nothing happened. The darkness was not empty. It felt intentional, like a pause in music before the first note. Somewhere in that darkness, the dancers stood still, breathing together. One breath, then another. A single thin line of white light appeared near the center of the stage. It moved gently, like a pencil drawing itself in the air. Then another line appeared. Then another. Slowly, shapes began to form. Arms unfolded. Legs bent. Bodies turned. The dancers were revealing themselves piece by piece, not with loud movement, but with patience. The audience leaned forward without realizing it. As the music began, soft and steady, the lights on the dancers' suits grew brighter. The colors shifted from white to pale blue, then to warm gold. Each movement left a trail of light behind it, like a memory that refused to disappear. The dancers moved as one body, their timing careful and exact. When one arm lifted, all arms lifted. When one turned, all turned. It was not fast. It was not loud. It was gentle. For Simon Cowell, something changed in that moment. He stopped leaning back. He leaned forward instead. His eyes followed the light as if it were telling a story without words. The story was simple. It was about connection. As the dance continued, the lights separated. One dancer stepped slightly away from the group. The lights on the others dimmed, while the lone dancer glowed brighter. The movement slowed. The music softened. The dancer reached outward, arms trembling slightly, as if searching for something just out of reach. This was the relatable problem at the heart of the performance. It was the feeling of being alone while surrounded by others. The feeling of being unseen, even when you were trying your hardest to shine. The audience felt it. Some shifted in their seats. Some pressed their lips together. It was a feeling many knew well but rarely spoke about. The group responded slowly. One by one, the other dancers stepped closer. Their lights warmed. Their movements became supportive rather than dramatic. They did not rush. They did not pull the dancer back forcefully. They simply stood near, their light overlapping, blending into something brighter together than any one light alone. On the judges' table, Sofia Vergara placed her hand over her heart. Howie Mandel nodded gently, his usual humor replaced by quiet respect. Terry Crews smiled, but his eyes were wet. Simon Cowell did not move. He watched closely, his face serious but not cold. The music shifted again. This time, a gentle rhythm began to build underneath the melody. The dancers responded with slightly stronger movements. The lights changed colors more quickly now, blues melting into purples, purples into soft reds. The stage no longer felt empty. It felt alive. Then came the gentle twist. Without warning, all the lights went out again. The audience gasped softly. For a heartbeat, there was only darkness. Then, from the floor, small points of light appeared. They were scattered, uneven, like stars seen through clouds. Slowly, the dancers rose from the ground. Their lights were dimmer now, flickering as if fragile. Their movements were careful, almost uncertain. This was not failure. It was struggle. The music grew quieter, almost fading. The dancers moved through each other, sometimes bumping gently, sometimes missing each other completely. The lights flickered more, as if they might disappear forever. For Simon Cowell, this was the moment that truly mattered. He had seen perfect performances before. What he watched now was honesty. It was risk. It was the courage to show weakness on a stage built for perfection. As the dancers reached the center, they stopped moving. Their lights pulsed slowly, once, twice. The music paused. Then one light grew stronger. Just one. It was a warm, steady gold. That light reached outward, touching another dancer. That dancer's light grew brighter too. Then another. And another. The music returned, fuller now, richer, but still calm. The dancers began to move together again, their steps stronger than before. Their lights no longer flickered. They glowed. The stage filled with color. Patterns formed in the air as the dancers spun and leapt, but never wildly. Everything was controlled, intentional. The light told a story of rebuilding, of finding strength not by standing alone, but by standing together. The audience was silent, completely absorbed. As the performance reached its final moments, the dancers formed a circle. Their lights blended into a single bright shape, so intense it softened the edges of their bodies. They raised their arms together, slowly, as if lifting something invisible and precious. The music faded into a single sustained note. The lights went out. For a brief second, no one moved. Then the theater exploded with applause. People stood up without thinking. Hands clapped hard. Some shouted. Some cried. The sound was not sharp or chaotic. It was deep and full, rolling forward like a wave. The dancers stood in the darkness, breathing heavily, hands still linked. When the lights returned, they bowed together, their faces showing disbelief, relief, and quiet pride. Simon Cowell stood up. This alone would have been enough to make the moment unforgettable. He did not clap immediately. He simply stood, looking at the stage, his expression thoughtful. Then he began to clap slowly. Once, twice, then faster. The other judges followed. Terry Crews raised his arms in celebration. Sofia Vergara wiped her eyes. Howie Mandel laughed softly, shaking his head in amazement. The applause continued, but Simon Cowell raised his hand gently. The room slowly quieted. He leaned toward his microphone. That, he said calmly, was not just a performance. That was a feeling. The dancers listened, their chests rising and falling. You used light, Simon continued, to show something very human. Fear, loneliness, hope, and connection. I could understand it without anyone saying a word. He paused. The pause felt important. I think the world needs more moments like that. Then, without raising his voice, without dramatic movement, Simon Cowell pressed the golden buzzer. The sound rang out, clear and bright. Golden confetti poured from above, falling slowly like warm rain. It caught the stage lights and glowed as it drifted down. The dancers looked up, stunned. Some covered their mouths. Some reached for each other, laughing and crying at the same time. The audience roared again, louder than before. Terry Crews ran onto the stage, hugging the group carefully, laughing with joy. You did it, he said softly. You really did it. The dancers stood in the falling gold, their LED suits still glowing beneath the confetti. Light on light, hope on hope. Later, when the noise had softened and the stage had cleared, light wire stood together one more time. The confetti lay around their feet like quiet proof of what had happened. They held hands again, just as they had backstage before the performance. This moment did not erase their struggles. It did not suddenly make life easy. They still remembered the long nights, the doubts, the times they almost gave up. But now, they carried something new with them. A shared memory of being seen. Of being understood. Simon Cowell watched from the judges' table as they walked off stage. He did not say anything more. He did not need to. The light they brought with them lingered long after they were gone. And in that theater, long after the seats emptied and the stage went dark, the feeling remained. A calm reminder that even the smallest light, when shared, can fill the largest space.